There are moments in life that split your existence into before and after. Moments so terrifying that they reshape how you see the world around you. What I'm about to tell you happened during what should have been just another ordinary night shift. But by the time dawn broke, I would never look at silence the same way again. My name is Marcus Webb. I'm 28 years old, originally from a small town outside Portland, Oregon. Tall guy, about 6'2", always kept myself in decent shape with brown hair I'd let grow a bit too long and a beard that made me look older than I was. At the time of this story, I was working the graveyard shift at a Chevron station off Route 26, about 40 minutes outside the city limits. The station sat at the edge of nowhere. On one side, dense Oregon forest that seemed to swallow light itself. On the other, a two-lane highway that might see a dozen cars during my entire 8-hour shift. The nearest neighbor was a rundown motel 3 miles down the road, and the nearest police station 45 minutes away on a good night. I'd taken the job 6 months earlier because the pay was decent and honestly, I needed the solitude. I'd just gone through a nasty breakup with my girlfriend of 4 years, Emily. She'd been my high school sweetheart, blonde hair, green eyes, the kind of smile that made you forget your own name. We'd planned to get married, buy a house, the whole 9 yards. Then she left me for her CrossFit instructor. Yeah, that kind of breakup. The kind that makes you want to be alone for a while. The overnight shift from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. suited me just fine. Most nights were peaceful. I'd stock shelves, clean the pumps, help the occasional trucker or insomniac, and spend hours listening to true crime podcasts. My manager, Dale, was a heavy-set guy in his 50s who barely checked in on me. As long as the money balanced and nothing got stolen, he didn't give a damn what I did. But let me tell you about the night that changed everything. It was a Tuesday in late October. The kind of Pacific Northwest night where fog rolls in thick as cotton and hangs there like it's got nowhere better to be. Temperature had dropped to about 43 degrees, and a light drizzle made everything glisten under the fluorescent lights of the station. I'd clocked in at 11, said goodbye to the evening shift guy, Tommy, a college kid who always looked exhausted from his day classes. The moment his beat-up Honda disappeared down the highway, I was alone. Just me, the hum of the refrigerators, and the occasional ping of moths hitting the lights outside. Around midnight, I was restocking the cigarette display behind the counter when I heard it. The crunch of tires on wet pavement. I looked up and saw an older model SUV pulling up to pump 3. Ford Explorer, maybe early 2000s, dark green or black, hard to tell in the sodium lighting. It was far enough away that I couldn't make out much detail about the driver, just a silhouette behind the wheel. I watched out the window as they sat there. Engine running, headlights on, but nobody getting out. This wasn't unusual. Sometimes people pulled in to check their phones, make a call, whatever. I went back to what I was doing. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. The SUV just sat there, engine still running. I started paying more attention now. The windows were slightly fogged up, which meant someone was definitely inside, breathing, alive. But why weren't they getting out? Why weren't they pumping gas or coming inside? 15 minutes. 20 minutes. Still nothing. Now I was getting concerned. During my 6 months on this job, I'd seen some strange things. Couples arguing in their cars at 2 a.m. People sleeping in their vehicles because they were too drunk to drive home. Once, a woman having a full-blown panic attack who I had to call paramedics for. But this felt different. This felt wrong. I grabbed my jacket from the back office, an old Carhartt that had seen better days, and stepped outside. The cold hit me immediately, that damp Oregon cold that seeps into your bones. The drizzle had picked up slightly, and fog swirled around the lights like ghosts playing. I called out as I approached, trying to sound friendly, non-threatening. Hey there. Everything all right? Need any help? Nothing. No response. No movement. I got closer, maybe 10 feet away from the driver's side window. That's when I noticed something that made my stomach tighten. The windows weren't just fogged up from the inside. They were completely obscured, like someone had been breathing heavily in there for a long time. And the engine was still running, but I could hear it struggling, coughing like it was about to stall out. Hello? Sir? Ma'am? Is everything okay? I moved right up to the window now and cupped my hands against the glass to peer inside. The fog was too thick. I couldn't see anything. But I could feel something. Call it intuition, call it survival instinct, call it whatever you want. Something was very, very wrong here. That's when I noticed the footprints. Fresh footprints in the wet pavement, leading from the driver's side door toward the side of the building. Away from the entrance. Away from the bathrooms. Toward the dark corner where we kept the dumpsters and where the security camera didn't quite reach. My heart started pounding. Someone had gotten out of that car. Someone was out here with me. In the dark. In the fog. And they weren't where they should be. I backed away from the SUV, my eyes scanning the shadows. The fog made everything look wrong, distorted. The edge of the forest seemed closer than usual, like it had crept forward while I wasn't looking. I could hear my own breathing, loud in my ears, and the distant hum of traffic on the highway, and nothing else. No footsteps. No voices. Nothing. Look, I called out, louder now, if you need help, I'm here. If you're in some kind of trouble, I can call someone. But you're freaking me out, man. Please just say something. Silence. Heavy, oppressive silence. I made my decision. I was going back inside, locking the door, and calling the police. I didn't care if I looked paranoid or stupid. Every instinct in my body was screaming at me to get inside, get to safety, get to a phone. I turned and started walking quickly back to the building, not quite running but close to it. That's when I heard it. A scraping sound. Metal on concrete. Coming from the side of the building where those footprints had led. I froze. Actually physically froze, like my muscles had stopped responding to my brain. The sound came again. Scrapey. Scrapey. Something being dragged. Something heavy. Fuck this, I whispered to myself and broke into a run. I practically threw myself through the glass door of the station, immediately hitting the lock and backing away from the entrance. My hands were shaking as I grabbed the phone behind the counter and dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? Hi, yes, I'm at the Chevron station on Route 26, mile marker 47. There's someone here, something's wrong, there's a car and footprints and I heard something and I... Sir, please slow down. Are you in immediate danger? I don't know. There's someone outside, they're not where they should be, and I heard. That's when the lights went out. Not flickering. Not brownout. Complete, immediate darkness. The kind of darkness that only happens when someone hits a breaker or cuts a line. The only light came from my phone screen and the distant glow of highway lights through the fog. Sir. Sir, are you still there? The lights just went out, I whispered into the phone. Someone cut the power. Holy shit, someone cut the power. Sir, officers are on their way. Can you get to a safe location? Can you lock yourself somewhere? I'm behind the counter, the front door is locked, but there's a back door and... a thump. From the back of the building. From the storage room. He's inside, I breathed. Oh God, he's inside the building. I dropped down behind the counter, phone still pressed to my ear, the dispatcher telling me to stay calm, stay quiet, stay on the line. My eyes were adjusting to the darkness now, and I could make out shapes. The silhouettes of shelves. The faint outline of the front windows. Another thump. Closer now. From the hallway that led from the storage room to the main store. I wasn't alone in this building. Someone was in here with me. Someone who had cut the power. Someone who had left their car running at the pump and snuck around to the back. Someone who had been planning this. Footsteps now. Slow, deliberate footsteps on the linoleum floor. Not trying to be quiet anymore. Walking with purpose. Walking toward the counter where I was hiding. I could see him now. Just barely. A tall figure, taller than me, broad-shouldered. In the almost non-existent light, I couldn't make out features, just a shape. A human shape moving through my store. He stopped at the end of an aisle, maybe 15 feet from where I was crouched. I held my breath, phone still at my ear, the dispatcher's voice a tiny whisper asking if I was okay. Then he spoke. Low voice, almost conversational. I know you're there, Marcus. He knew my name. How the fuck did he know my name? I've been watching you, Marcus. Watching you for weeks now. Every Tuesday night. Always alone. Always so trusting. My blood went cold. This wasn't random. This was planned. This was targeted. This was about me. See, I have a problem, Marcus. I do things. Bad things. Things I can't stop doing. And I need places to do them. Quiet places. Remote places. Places where nobody will hear. Places like this. He started walking again, closer to the counter. I could see more details now. Wore dark clothes, something covering his face, maybe a ski mask. Gloves on his hands. This wasn't impulsive. This was calculated. And you, Marcus, you're a complication. Because you're here. Always here. Every Tuesday. So I thought, maybe I can solve two problems at once. Maybe I can have my quiet place and take care of my Marcus problem. He was at the counter now. Right on the other side. So close I could hear his breathing. Deep, steady, calm breaths. He wasn't scared. Wasn't nervous. He was enjoying this. I gripped my phone tighter, the only weapon I had. The dispatcher was still talking, saying police were 7 minutes away, hang on, stay quiet, help is coming. 7 minutes. Might as well have been 7 hours. That's when I heard the sirens. Faint at first, then growing louder. He heard them too. I felt him tense on the other side of the counter. Fuck, he hissed. Not the calm voice anymore. This was anger. Frustration. You called them. You actually called them. He moved fast. Reached over the counter, grabbed at where he thought I was, but I scrambled backward, knocking over displays, making noise, not caring anymore. The sirens were getting closer. Help was coming. I just had to survive until they got here. I heard him run. Not toward the back where he came in, but toward the front door. He hit it hard, shoulder first, and the lock held for a second before the frame cracked and he was through. I heard the crash of glass, heard his footsteps on the pavement, heard the SUV door slam and the engine rev. By the time the police cars pulled in, lights blazing, the dark green Explorer was already disappearing down the highway, fog swallowing it whole. 3 sheriff's deputies cleared the building, found the cut power lines in the back, found the broken back door that he'd jimmied open. They found something else too, something that made my blood run cold all over again. In the storage room, they found rope. Lots of rope. A tarp. Duct tape. A hammer. And zip ties. An entire kill kit, ready to use. He'd been planning to murder me that night. To take his time with it. To use my own workplace as his personal torture chamber. They never caught him. Despite the manhunt, despite the APB on the vehicle, despite everything. The Explorer was found abandoned in a Walmart parking lot the next morning. Wiped clean. No prints. No DNA. No surveillance footage that showed his face. For weeks afterward, detectives asked me the same questions over and over. Did I recognize his voice? Had I seen any unusual customers? Did I have any enemies? And the answer was always no. I was nobody. Just a guy working overnight at a gas station, trying to get over a breakup and keep to himself. But he knew my name. He'd been watching me. For weeks, he said. Every Tuesday. I quit the next day. Told Dale I was done, didn't even care about my last paycheck, just wanted out. Moved back in with my parents in Portland. Started seeing a therapist twice a week for PTSD. Barely slept for months. Still jump at sudden noises. Still can't handle being alone in the dark. The detective on my case, a patient woman named Sarah Reeves with kind eyes and gray-streaked hair, told me 6 months later that they think my case was connected to 3 other assaults in remote locations across Oregon and Washington. Gas stations, rest stops, isolated businesses with overnight workers. 2 victims didn't survive. 1 barely did, and she'll never walk again. They think he's still out there. Still doing what he does. Still looking for quiet places and solitary victims. Still hunting. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't called the police when I did. If I'd waited even 5 more minutes before making that call. If I'd gone outside to investigate those footprints instead of going back inside. Sometimes I wonder if he's found another Tuesday night victim. Another Marcus working alone at another forgotten gas station on another empty highway. Another person who trusted that the quiet of the graveyard shift was safety, not vulnerability. And sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep, I wonder if he's still watching me. If he knows where I live now. If he's patient. If he's waiting for me to let my guard down again. Because that's the thing about monsters, isn't it? They don't look like monsters. They look like a car at a pump. They sound like footsteps in the fog. They hide in the spaces between what you can see and what you can't. That Tuesday night taught me something I'll never forget. The real horror isn't what jumps out at you in the dark. It's what waits there, quiet and patient, planning every detail, knowing your name, counting on you to be alone. I survived that night. But part of me is still there, crouched behind that counter in the darkness, listening to those footsteps getting closer, hearing that calm voice saying my name. And I'll never really leave that place. None of us who've met our monsters ever truly do. If you work alone at night, in isolated places, please be careful. Lock your doors. Trust your instincts. And if something feels wrong, it probably is. Because somewhere out there, on some forgotten highway, at some quiet gas station, someone else might be having their Tuesday night. And I pray to God that they hear the sirens in time. Thank you for listening to my story. I know it was heavy. I know it was dark. But it's the truth, and maybe someone needs to hear it. Maybe someone needs to know that those gut feelings, those moments when something feels off, they matter. They can save your life. If this story resonated with you, if it gave you chills or made you think twice about safety, please hit that like button and subscribe for more true horror stories from people who've lived them. Drop a comment below if you've ever had a close call working alone or if you have your own night shift nightmare to share. Stay safe out there. Trust your instincts. And remember, the quiet isn't always peaceful. Sometimes it's just the sound of something waiting. Until next time.